Welcome to a new season in our lives. We are on a mission to demolish the arguments that have kept us from taking our next step towards true Christian authenticity. Are you ready to tear down those self-protective masks that are holding you back in life, in business, in relationships? It's about mindset, but more specifically, learning to keep our minds set on Christ regardless of circumstance. This is the Mindset School podcast. I'm your host, Peggy Easterling. Let's be real, okay? Are you ready? Let's go. Hey there, friend. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you are working so hard to keep everything spinning? Your business, your relationships, your emotions, only to feel like it's all about to crash? If you've ever felt exhausted trying to manage it all, today's episode is just for you. We're diving into a conversation that hits deep. Why we're jumping into other people's struggles, thinking that we can fix things, and how that keeps us stuck. I'm sharing a story from my own journey, one that starts way back in third grade, and how God revealed a truth that changed everything for me. So get ready to let go of what's not yours to carry. Step into the peace that's been waiting for you, and to trust God is already working on things that you cannot control. Let's do this.
So I want to take us back all the way to third grade. So in PE class in third grade, one of the most exciting days was hula hoop contest day. Anyone else have hula hoop contest day at PE class? So we would anticipate this day for weeks and even months, and the girls would talk about it at school, and they would practice and prepare. This was the big event, and the teacher would time us, and the goal was simple. Keep the hula hoop spinning for as long as you could. And some of these kids in PE class, they looked like they were born with a hula hoop around their waist. And then there was me. I would give that thing a spin, and it might last one, maybe two rotations before that thing would clatter to the floor. Do y'all remember that sound it made on the gym floor? Honestly, I was not even hula hooping. I would just push that thing as hard as I possibly could and hope it wouldn't fall. And looking back, that hula hoop is a picture of my life. Because for years, I tried to keep everything spinning. My relationships, my work, my emotions. I thought if I just pushed harder, everything could stay together. But no matter how hard I pushed, things would eventually crash and fall. And as I've walked through regeneration, God has been peeling back layers to reveal the root of some of these struggles for me has been codependency. So what is codependency? A man, my counselor, guided me with patience and wisdom. God bless this man. He helped me recognize this pattern in myself when he asked me a simple but powerful question. He said it this way. He said, "Can you still be okay if someone else is not okay?" Wow, that hit me really hard. Because there were so many times in my life that the answer to that question was absolutely not. Especially in the relationships with the people that were closest to me, my children, my ex-husband, and it shows up still in relationships today. Codependency is believing that you need to manage other people to feel okay for yourself. It's not just caring or empathy, those things are important. It is tying your worth and your value to how well you can fix or save someone else. And it's exhausting because it's actually impossible to do. I'm going to go off script here, but I like the word codependency better than I like really telling you, here I am, instead of staying in my hula hoop of life. What I like to do is to feel good about myself, because I like to get over here in your hula hoop and tell you what to do and how to fix your stuff, and that makes me feel better about myself. That word codependency sounds a lot better than all that stuff, doesn't it? But I've learned that my worth is not in all that. I've learned walking with God that there are steps to admitting, and they've helped me, and they'll help you too if you're willing to trust God and do the work in this space. Step 1, admit you're powerless. Breaking free and admitting that you are powerless over your addictions, brokenness, and sinful patterns. And for me, that meant I'm powerless over controlling other people. I cannot fix them. I am not their savior. I cannot save them, and only God can. I can't control their choices. I can't control their emotions, no matter how hard I try. God gives us the gift of autonomy and the ability to make our own decisions for ourselves. But when I try to grab someone else's hula hoop, thinking I can manage their choices for them, I not only risk making their hula hoop fall, but I also step out the piece that is in the circle with me when I remain here where God created me to be. This reminds me of the story of Martha and Mary in Luke 10, and Martha was spinning hula hoops, wasn't she? She was trying to manage everything and everyone. She wanted to make sure the house is clean, the meals prepped, the environment, the ambiance was perfect, right? And when she couldn't get it all done, she asked Jesus to make Mary help her. That's pretty bold. But Jesus didn't tell Mary to get up. Instead, he said, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, and indeed only one. Martha wanted control. She thought if she could manage everything perfectly, everything could be okay. I've been Martha, worried, upset, spinning, hopping into someone else's circle because I thought I was helping. Jesus reminds us gently that we don't need to carry the weight of the world. He doesn't ask us to fix everything or everyone. He asks us to do our part by trusting him. And when I stay in my circle, inside this hula hoop that God has given me to steward, there's peace there. In this circle, I can pray for others, and I can trust God with their outcomes and admit that I'm powerless without him. And that's where the freedom and strength lie. Not in what I can do, but what he can do when I'm obedient to him, and the light he can shine through my life when I'm doing this work in my circle. For years, I wore this mask of strength, and this leads me to step 2, admit life is unmanageable without God. I wanted people to see me as capable and in control. Behind closed doors, I was a hot, crumbling mess. My life felt unmanageable because I was trying to do it all in my own strength. Work, relationships, family, ministry. I want to take you back to one specific moment when that really hit me and it became clear. Years ago, I was working at a Christian school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we had a fire drill at the school. If you've ever been a part at an emergency drill at a school, you know how detailed it can be. Every single student and every single staff member needs to be accounted for. Every step of the process needs to be followed perfectly. So this particular day, the alarm went off, and I wasn't just focused on my role. My role that day, I was to make sure I had my walkie-talkie with me, check in with each individual teacher, and make sure all the students were accounted for, all the staff was accounted for, and when I had the yes to that, to tell the firemen. That was my role. It was a big deal. But here's where I was. The alarm goes off. I wasn't focused on my role at all. I was spinning in hula hoops in my mind, like, anybody been there? Like, ah, right? And in that state, in that place that I was mentally, I was not focused on my role. I was spinning in my mind, what if somebody missed the library? Did anybody check the bathrooms? My thoughts were spiraling with what ifs. And the chaos inside of me was overwhelming. And after the drill, another administrator pulled me aside and he said, Peggy, INBD. Now this man, I loved him. It wasn't the first or the last time he told me that. And at first I didn't understand because I was like, this is a huge deal. But then after more conversation, it clicked. He wasn't saying the drill didn't matter and the lives of the children didn't matter. He was saying the weight I was carrying and the responsibilities that I was taking on, they were not mine to carry. Hopping into other people's hula hoops was not serving me or allowing me to do the work that I was supposed to be doing in that moment. Looking back, I can see how I very often approach life in this way, constantly stepping into the circles of others and trying to control their outcomes. Romans 8:5-6 says this, the mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. My mind was completely governed by my flesh, trying to control everything myself. It was robbing me of my peace. This was a Christian school. I could have been praying that we could learn to do this better in that moment, but that's not what I was doing. I was a wreck. When I finally admitted that my life was unmanageable without God here at Regen, I began to experience a new level of peace. Staying in my hula hoop allows me to focus on what He's entrusted me and trust Him with the rest. Step 3, admit God's design is always better. Every year, I pray diligently, and I ask God to give me a word of the year. And I think it's a great practice. And last year, the word that He led me to after much prayer, man, it was an Instagrammable word. And when I slapped that on Instagram, it was so inspiring and pretty. But this year, after prayer, my word on the surface is not inspiring or pretty. My word's no, N-O, 2 letters. It's not flashy, but it's exactly what I need. Saying no to the things that God has not called me to, someone else's circle, is my next step in breaking free of codependency. And in this, I'm learning that just because something is a good thing doesn't mean it's God's best for me in every season. Last year, I said yes to an opportunity. I knew at the time I couldn't handle it. God had me over here in this circle, and He had called me to do a lot of different things in this season. But I said yes anyway. And it caused me to pull away from what He had called me to. And I wasn't in the circle doing the things that mattered most, my family, my work, and the ministry that He's called me to. But this year, I'm learning that saying in my circle and saying no, it's not selfish, it's faithful. It's being faithful. Proverbs 16:9 says, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Admitting God's design is better means trusting Him to lead, even when it's uncomfortable. So I want to ask you, are you holding on to a hula hoop that was never yours? Are you trying to manage someone else's life, thinking if you push harder, this will be okay? You don't have to spin anyone else's hoop. And healing will come when you stop tying your peace to others' problems and trust God right here in your circle. And trust that He loves them more than you ever could. And if you admit that and love them wherever they are on their journey, and even on your knees for them in your circle, that's a way more powerful place to be. I want you right now to close your eyes and imagine your hula hoop. I want you to imagine it bright, bold, uniquely yours. Inside it are your responsibilities, your emotions, your purpose. Inside of it is God and the things that He's calling you to. Outside of it are things you cannot control. When you feel tempted to step outside of your circle, I encourage you, pause, pray, and release it to God. Staying in your circle isn't about letting others down. It's about trusting God to lift you up. I'm so grateful for the freedom that comes from staying in my hula hoop, for the peace that is there when I admit I'm powerless. And I'm thankful for the joy that I found that was always there and available for me. But I had blocked it because I was unwilling to admit my life is unmanageable without Him.
Thank you for joining me today on our journey towards Christian authenticity and a Christ-centered mindset. Remember, the masks that we wear not only hide our true selves, but also keep us held back, living small in life, in business, and in relationships. As we wrap up, I invite you to take a crucial step towards your breakthrough. I created the Breakthrough Quiz just for you. Head over to themindsetSchool.net/quiz and dive in to discover a guide to move you closer to your authentic self and renewing your mind God's way. Until next time, let's be real, okay?